Director's office. So here's 3 components of the consultative sell. And I'm just going to give you the 3 elements. We're assuming relationship, some kind of relationship is already built. Okay, so I'm not even going to spend time on relationship. We all know we need to build relationship. So here's 3 components. First component is there's some kind of presentation. Not necessarily in this order, but it's one of the components. The second thing is, come on, qualifying. There's some kind of qualifying. Some of you have to do a lot of qualifying. Some of you like qualifying depending on the sophistication and number of people involved in your process. And there's a close. By the way, everybody wants to know how to close better. Do you know if you got to close, you've missed something on the front end? Because the close should be a nice, easy, natural flow and a foregone conclusion. So if you're having the hard close, you're doing something wrong on the front end. You're making it way too much work. So here's 3 components. Now, not all selling is the same. There was a study done, which I'll show you here in a second. 3 competitors, all doing consultative selling. Can everybody see the screen okay? Okay. So 3 competitors, all doing consultative selling. However, the first company, column 1, 4-month sales cycle, 90% close rate. They were all selling the same thing, complex sell, multiple people involved, large dollar items. So 4-month sales cycle. The second company had a 8-month sales cycle and a 60% close rate. So twice the time and a third less the closing. And the third company had a 14-month sales cycle and 2% close rate. Which one would you prefer to be? Right? Number 1. So let's take a look at what the difference was. Okay, the first one had an approach that I call tit for tat. Anybody know what tit for tat is? It's, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine, but there's a lot of trading that goes back and forth. And it's equal and mutual. The second one had what I call a traditional approach, and I'll define these in a second. A very traditional consultative approach, which you'll see all over the place, and it's effective, but it's not nearly as effective as the first. And the third one had what I call the spray and pray. You go out, you talk to everybody, hey, you want to see what we're doing? Can we give you a proposal? And they just start sending proposals, and they're a proposal factory. Anybody seen those? Okay? And your salespeople confuse sending out a proposal with having a qualified candidate. But what happens is this. When their pipeline gets thin, their bravery goes down, and they start throwing stuff against the wall to see what will stick, because they're just hoping. So let me show you the approach. The tit for tat approach took a qualify, close, and present in those 3 sequences. They qualified first, they closed second, and then they presented. Now the close in this case is really, you might call it a pre-close. It's a pre-close. But it's, hey, if we can find out all your requirements and we can meet those and we can show you that we can do exactly what you need, is there any reason why you wouldn't buy from us? Now it's kind of an amateurish way of saying it, but to get the concept across, that's the concept. Okay? The second one, the traditional approach, is qualify, present, and close. Right? Qualify, present to the need, close, and there's usually some chasing that goes on here, because what happens when you go for the close? What do you hear? Maybe I want to think it over, I need to talk to a couple other people, and that's what happens, right? The third one is present, qualify, and close. Present everything that you can, demos, trials, test drives, price quotes, proposals, and hope that it sticks. And then you chase and chase and chase, trying to qualify them. Hey, what do we do? Let's do some business. And then you go to close, and that's just really frustrating. Now, don't get me wrong. That works when you got a brand new startup business and you need to go talk to everybody in the world. It's a good way to canvas and get started, but you'll quickly go from that into the traditional one. And as you get even better, you'll go from that to the tit for tat when you get way too busy or your resources start to get stressed. And you'll find that is the most effective way of working. So, why the tit for tat approach from my perspective? 45% or 45 times higher close rate, 3 times faster. Who'd like faster and more closes and faster, right? Okay. 60 professional buyers that I showed the models to all preferred this model. When I say professional buyers, 20 years of professional buying experience for corporations, from everything from pencils to buildings to computers and all the stuff in between. They all said they liked this approach better. That's from the buyer. Why? Because it didn't waste their time. It was mutual agreement every step along the way, and they really appreciated that. That to them was professional. By the way, the other thing they told me is over the last 20 years, they've noticed a decline in the professionalism of salespeople. They said they're not as knowledgeable as they used to be, and their skills aren't what they used to be. In 20 years, there's been a decline. Okay. This approach eliminates negotiating and discounting because it does all the hard work on the front end. You eliminate competition, you found out what their requirements were. If you're not a good fit, you've weeded yourself out now before you've gone too far, but it'll eliminate negotiation qualification. And there was a 2-year study done of game theorists, mathematicians, strategists, and what they determined in a situation that's competitive, this is the only way to win. So anybody play tic-tac-toe as a kid? You still play it? Good, I like that. Yeah, I need to get back in touch with that side, right? So how do you win tic-tac-toe? Don't play? Well, that's why you can't win, you just don't lose, right? How do you win tic-tac-toe? You have to go first, right? What happens if you go second? Yeah, the best you can do as second place is tie unless they royally mess up, right? So when I say tit for tat, it's really you're playing tic-tac-toe. And it's the most effective way to work, especially in a competitive situation. So.